Welcome to the Podcaster. Each week, in just 15 minutes, we explore a different project shaping the future of Farcaster. You can listen to our episodes on Spotify and YouTube. This podcast is brought to you by Collider Ventures.
Hello, everyone. We are now recording the 12th episode of the Podcaster. We are here today with Phil from PlayMini. Thank you so much, Phil, for joining us. We'd love for you to start with a short introduction of what's PlayMini.
Yeah, first of all, excited to be here. Excited to talk about PlayMini. So I guess a short version that PlayMini is a social gaming company. Our entire thesis is basically bring back those OG Flash games that people played back in 2010 Facebook gaming era and combine them with financial elements. So basically anything ranging from making a bet with your friend, like one-on-one wager, tournaments with shared prize pools, something that predictions, basically something that really replicates this experience of like almost like playing poker with your friends in person, but we're trying to make it digital, on a scale. And we believe that this OG Flash games is something that people loved a lot back in the day. I even remember like my mom been playing those games, so anyone could play those games. It's really easy to join them. And in the past, I was doing a lot of work with YouTubers and live streamers on Twitch, and at the time I explored that people actually love this like additional financialization of the pretty simple experiences, even though usually people hate like paying for entertainment, but people were happy to spend like $5 to make a bet or to like affect something in the show on that we were for example working on. And that was basically the foundation for PlayMini that I came to this year when I realized that hey, there's all these components that people loved so much in the past, but no one really tried to combine them together. Or even if they tried to combine them together in the past, I feel like from the operation perspective and tech perspective, it was a little bit too early. And so this year I kind of thought, okay, what if I were to go and combine these things, create something, and see what people think? And so we ended up working on a library of different games this year. We really big believers in Web3 social. I do believe that people in Web3 social are really interested in exploring new products. So like that's where we wanted to start. And basically this year we already released a few games on Farcaster, and recently been working on like a full-fledged standalone game that's going to leverage a few different Web3 social layers together to see if we can again create the experience that works on a much bigger scale and see what people from like different communities are going to think about it. But yeah, that's basically in a nutshell what PlayMini is today. And ultimately, I guess like the only last point to add here is that PlayMini came together really naturally. I thought about combining this OG Flash games with crypto for maybe 5 years now, and I thought that the timing was a bit early in the past. But again, right now, I'm seeing so much passion and like enthusiasm coming from people who really like that. We bring back this like nostalgia games that played as a kids or teenagers, and having this additional financial elements, making almost feels like going to Las Vegas to play with your friends, but in a browser and something that again really familiar from the time in the past. So yeah, that's what PlayMini is today.
And I wonder, when you say like combining like OG games with like some financialization via crypto capabilities, what do you mean specifically by financialization? Do you mean like competing for a prize? Or what specifically that means?
Yeah. I think it could be different things, and that's the beauty of that. I think we're trying to build different experiments, and for example, right now what we're working on is going to be actually a combination of things. I do believe that financialization of those like games, to me, it's something that it's basically bringing together a way for people to compete for some kind of reward in the game, and that reward could be either a big tournament where we have like 100 people paying money to participate, and then this money goes into a shared prize pool, and like one person going to win this money, or like 5 people going to win this money. The incentive in this case again is to compete for that reward, right? It also could be a one-on-one wager, so I can just play with a friend of mine, and both of us going to bet, let's say $25, and then one person going to get basically all the money, all the bank, and that also creates kind of like a reward at the end of that competition, right? So basically, we're trying to explore different models where people understand that they have skin in the game. They understand that they have to focus on something skill based and actually like put effort into playing the game, because if they're going to be good enough at that game, they're going to be able to get some kind of financial reward. And that financial reward could come again from different places, whether it's a tournament, whether it's a one-on-one wager, whether it's, right now we work on something that I cannot really disclose yet, but in a game you can basically get the reward by doing certain actions, and every single player have like equal chance of getting that reward if, again, they're going to perform well in the game. So basically, I guess, yeah, to me it's almost like we're trying to figure out a way to make all these games that people played in the past for free in a way that are going to make them more competitive, and that competition comes from having ability to win money, and this money usually comes from directly fees from people themselves, whether, again, it's 1v1, 100 people tournament, or some combination of those two things.
Yeah, like that's super interesting to me because I think like games, for example, in Facebook, were one of the most successful businesses being built on top of it. And I think that lots of people that spend lots of time on Facebook, me, including myself, when I was younger, was mainly because of the games. And I really haven't seen like any aspect of gaming being built on top of Farcaster.
Yeah, it is true, and it's interesting because, even like talking about like Facebook for a second, I think like the reason why those games ended up being like not that big anymore, I think the problem was not in the games. I think the problem was in the distribution that just changed in the world. People start playing games on mobile, on new consoles, maybe even like a little bit of PC, and I think recently we've been seeing that there's this new kind of, I would call it, generation of social, both in Web3, whether it's, Farcaster, and there's some signs of that even like in a more traditional gaming world with Telegram and Discord. Like all of these places, they trying to build this new environment where people can play those games that they played in the past again. And I do believe that there is, those games were those games were really fun back in the day, and they're as fun today. So I think it's really about, just the fact that now we standing at a point of time when we're going to see a new distribution happening, a new distribution funnel happening in gaming. And that is also like why the timings is so interesting to try to build, something similar to Facebook gaming, but on top of Farcaster, or just general on top of Web3 social, is because I do believe that even though it might seem small right now, we do need to remember that every single human, even if they're not gamer by definition, they like to entertain themselves. They still would want to do something fun, whether alone or with some other people. And what those people were doing basically back in the day, they would go to Facebook gaming to do that. And I feel like right now there's this huge hole of like just the absence of social experiences as a whole, and someone needs to fill that. And I think all these platforms also understand that that's where this new like audience going to come from, and so they enable new ways of building those products inside those new platforms. And I think we're going to be seeing more experiments there. I think one of the biggest problems right now that I see so far, though, is that a lot of people try to replace experiences that were there in the past, but with some like kind of new like cherry on top type of situation. And I think the problem with like just replacing what worked in the past is that people still crave something new, something that they never experienced before. And I feel like that is the challenge right now, is how do we bring back those OG games? Well, we cannot just bring them back. Like, it's not going to be enough. I think we need to bring them back in a way that was not possible before. And that's why I'm especially excited about financialization of those games, because financialization was not possible before. Whether, again, operation-wise, legal-wise, tech-wise, there was always a reason. And now, because of crypto, it's the first time in history when you can make it international on day one. So now, if you want to make a tournament, or you want to make a wager with your friend in, Japan, or just like random person in Japan, right? And you based in the US, for example, now you can finally do that. So we're not really limited by that restriction anymore. And I feel like that is what makes it, for example, unique. And that's what we're trying to bet on as the reason why people would come back to play those games again, whether it's people who played them in the past, or the new audience of people who never played them before, right? Because even when it comes to Facebook gaming, at the time, like Zynga was doing really great projects, and a lot of people came to play those games even though they were not gamers. And I feel like right now, again, we're at the point of time when we're going to see new funnel of that distribution created, and there are going to be so many new people who are not traditional gamers, but they would want to have fun as those people did in the past, just because of this new like novelty that is being introduced because of crypto. And I feel like that is the part that a lot of people are getting wrong. And I feel like that is something that we like super excited to prove that like that is a way to actually like build something sustainable and scalable, even like outside of what we have today in crypto, and just think of like how many people we can bring in. Because it's really easy to sell. Like people just want to have fun, and we're literally just saying them, hey, it's a new way of having fun.
Yeah. We'd love for you to also explain how do you imagine these games will look like on Farcaster? Like, do you imagine these games happening over frames? Are you planning to also launch like a dedicated client in which people will play and like will interact with the game interface through that client? How do you imagine this?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, honestly, I think it's going to be both. I do think that so far, what we're trying to do is as many experiments as possible. I think we did experiments already on a part of trying to build a frame game, and I think it was pretty successful. We got over 1,000 users for the experiments we did at the beginning of the summer, and after that we kind of thought, okay, we did that experiment, it worked really well. What do we want to do next? And I feel like right now, specifically, we're trying to explore almost like a hybrid between a frame game and a standalone experience somewhere outside, but still built on top of the layer of social, whether it's Farcaster or Twitter. And I feel like the ultimately our goal is to find this new we trying to find the most seamless way of people to bring them into the game. I think, if we learn anything from experiments so far is that people just want to jump into game as soon as possible. They don't want to deal with, friction. They don't want to really try to figure out how to just start the game. They want to just be in the game already. And so I feel like that is the challenge right now, to figure out whether it's straight up just a frame game, it's a frame game combined with a standalone experience, where you can start in a frame, continue in another place, or vice versa. I think there's also opportunity to make like a combination of those things, where there is maybe a standalone platform where you would have to go there to sign up for, let's say, a tournament, but portion of that tournament going to happen in a frame because it's possible, but then you would have to move to some other place to continue that, right? So I think right now we're just trying to explore what the hybrid model of that looks like, and alongside seeing Farcaster also doing improvements to frames and what's possible and capable with them. So I think it's ultimately going to be a combination of both until we're going to see what actually sticks and works, right? But I think it's also cool because right now there's like so many like places to go to do those experiments with. So honestly, like even in a few months from now, like our entire vision could change just based on like seeing what people like doing, or like where they spend the most time. But yeah, ultimately, I think it's going to be a combination of both, frame games and standalone games that are still built on top of like Web3 social layer, Farcaster lens, and still Twitter.
And I wonder, for frame games in particular, do the current capabilities of frames allow you to have like high quality games running on them?
So, I mean, the way I would put it is that it's really important to, I think, in my opinion, not to compare frame games to like any other games that exist today, because I think the reason people would play frame game is different. And frame games to me right now is really similar to what the consoles were back in the 80s, when the technical capabilities were also limited, but people would still play them because the entire idea that you can come to your friend, you can, just plug that into your TV and actually play something that is relatively fun and easy to do. That was the reason why people would still do that. And I think right now with frames, you may not be able to create a AAA game, but I think you can still create the social experience that is fun, right? You can still create something where people have pretty clear idea what they're doing, why they're clicking on the button. And I think, again, my main belief when it comes to gaming is that you have to build for an audience who would not identify as gamers, and they would want to try to do something new. And I think frames is one of these interesting new ways of playing game in a brand new way, in a way that has nothing to do with what traditional gaming is. So honestly, like quality is I do feel like it's possible to make high quality frames. It's important to remember that the quality of frames, like it's not comparable to console games, mobile game, or even like some other like browser based games, because it's just different. It's still fundamentally a game by term, but it's just fundamentally different body of work. And that's the cool part about it, because it was not possible before. Playing a game in a feed the way that you can do in Farcaster, it was not possible. And I feel like that is the novelty, and therefore I think it is high quality, just different.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I wonder if you could explain, like, how did you end up coming with this idea? Like, how did you decide to build PlayMini? Like, how did you realize that there was like this need to merge like OG games with like crypto, essentially?
Mhm. Yeah, so I think the first time when I had this idea was maybe like 6 years ago, when I started my first company at the time. Was called Frame Ninja, and we've been building basically interactive live streaming tools for YouTubers and Twitch creators. And we've been exploring at the time financialization of those live streams, and that was the first time when I noticed that people want to have social experiences with other people, and they're happy to pay for that. That was the time when I was like, okay, so maybe we were on Twitch, it was kind of limited, and whenever the stream was over, obviously cannot be part of that experience anymore. So I thought, okay, how can we make it on a scale? And then for a couple of years, I forgot about the idea. I started working at Super Rare and exploring a lot of NFTs and this area. And then a couple of years ago, I resurfaced the idea that I had back in 2018, and I realized, okay, so one of the ways to make it on a scale is to actually make a game and not a live stream and show. And what kind of game? I realized that, I've been playing so many games on Facebook back in the day, and that was really fun. Or like even outside of Facebook, but Flash gaming, it was so fun. And I had so many friends who also had so much fun, and we've been like just making jokes. Hey, we just need to make our own Flash game again. So like that's how the Flash gaming part started. And then because I was already in crypto for quite some time, and I realized that I always wanted to keep exploring the financialization that I started exploring on Twitch, but again, make it scalable on a international. I kind of realized that again, crypto is the only way to accept like money from different people across all countries, and then send them back. And so then I realized, okay, if I was already doing financialization experiments so much, and I as a joke, but still was working on like Flash games. Why can I combine them two and see what's going to happen? Initial, I wanted to try to do that in 2022. But at the time, I really felt like it was a little bit early. I think people, the sentiment about crypto, it still was not in a place, in a right place, and the tech was still not quite there. But I think like this year, at the beginning of the year, I realized that, hey, I've been talking to so many friends of mine who are not even in crypto, and they even use crypto right now to like pay for software or like something on the internet. And so I realized it. So it's actually so easy right now to understand how to buy crypto, so I can bring back the idea I had a couple of years ago and actually try to make it happen. So yeah, that's basically a little bit of how it happened. I think it's really just a combination of my passions from the past, which is both gaming, working with YouTubers, and then working in crypto and like seeing what crypto unlocks, and just like now thinking, okay, maybe it's final time to combine them together and just see what's going to happen, because no one else tried that. I always questioned that, why no one is trying that, and it just felt pretty natural to go and finally do it this year. Seeing how much progress we made on the tech side, and yeah, just seeing what's going to happen.
Interesting, super cool. Phil, we're reaching the end of the episode, but would love for you to also share with us like some alpha about what's coming up on PlayMini.
Yeah. So the most interesting thing that we've actually been doing so far this year, going to be coming out in about a month. It's going to be I think we're going to make an announcement pretty soon, but it's going to be a standalone game, and it's going to be based on really interesting game that a lot of people played in the past, but then forgotten about the game, and now we want to bring the concept back. And I do think it's going to be really exciting, because that's going to be the first time, at least from my memory, in crypto, who would try to do the mechanic that we're trying to do. So it's either going to be really fun experience or really boring one. I definitely hope it for the fun one. But that's going to be coming out in about a month, and we're going to be making some announcement pretty soon. And that's probably like we spend months just like thinking how to make it happen, and we finally have a really good idea. So super excited about that, and just look out for announcements on Twitter, and hopefully you're gonna guys join the game too in about a month.
Awesome. Phil, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I encourage everyone to follow PlayMini on Farcaster, and yeah, and play your games.
Please play these games. They're really fun. I swear. I promise. Just give it a
Awesome.
shot.
Thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you.